Welcome back. From the American Rescue Plan being passed to federal election laws, there's a lot going on in Congress right now. And I'm joined live by Congressman Rodney Davis. Rodney, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, just after the House passed the American Rescue Plan, you sent us a statement calling it a partisan bill, one where the funds won't be spent for years and how it's not targeted towards COVID. What in the bill are you referencing that's not targeted?
Well, there are plenty of pieces of legislation that I vote for that are bipartisan. As a matter of fact, let's take a step back. At the beginning of the pandemic, we came together in a very bipartisan way to pass historic COVID relief, to give our mom and pop shops the lifeline they needed to survive. We did that 4 other times in a very bipartisan way. The Democrats took over the House, the Senate, and the White House. Their first bill out of the chute was one that used a reconciliation process that spent $2 trillion more when the last bipartisan package had over $1 trillion still left to be spent. I'll tell you, there are some things that need to be done now to reopen our schools. And the Biden administration had $60 billion sitting in Washington as part of our bipartisan agreement. And they've done nothing to spend that money. And most of the education dollars that are in the new bill aren't going to be spent until 2023. That's not COVID relief. That's actually just growing government.
And switching gears now, House Democrats recently passed H.R. 1, also known as the For the People Act of 2021. You said this bill federalizes the electoral system and makes it more vulnerable to voter fraud. How does this bill do that?
It does it by nationalizing our election system, by nationalizing a process that's already been ripe with fraud called ballot harvesting, where a stranger knocks on your door if you've asked for a mail-in ballot and just assures you that he or she's going to take that ballot down to the courthouse for you. I don't think this is a way to make politics better. But what was in that bill that I believe is the number one reason why almost every Democrat voted for it is because it created a program that would have allowed over $7.2 million in public money to go directly into their own campaigns. That's something that doesn't get talked about enough. $7 million more into a member of Congress's own congressional campaign. I would never vote for a bill that would give me $1 in public money, let alone $7.2 million.
And lastly, recently you met with President Biden to discuss infrastructure. Can you kind of walk me through what was discussed and what you're working on there? We've got about a minute left or so.
You know, Matt, I was pretty proud to be part of a very small group to go to the Oval Office to talk to President Biden about infrastructure. Vice President Harris was there. Secretary Buttigieg was there. We just laid out our policies and priorities when it came to rebuilding our roads and bridges that are crumbling right now. I talked about my One Federal Decision Act to lessen the time it takes for environmental reviews, thus getting to the construction stage a lot more quickly. It was a good discussion, but it was a 30,000-foot level discussion. I'm disappointed today to hear that President Biden is looking to propose tax increases to pay for an infrastructure program when we can talk about things that are going to be bipartisan agreements. But we've got to have bipartisanship, and I don't see it right now.
Rodney, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.